Well, welcome everyone to the Unchained Business podcast. I'll describe the name change in a minute. I am here with Billie, who is here in spirit. She is in transit. Hello.
Hello, Caleb.
As you can tell, if you're watching the video version of this, I am in my apartment in Paraguay. Billie will be leaving for Paraguay tomorrow. I mean, you begin your trip tomorrow, right?
I leave on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Got it. So then, she'll be here shortly for the Paraguay Get Residency service. And now by the time you watch this, we'll probably both be back to our homes because, there's like a 2 or 3 week delay. We actually record these things. But the name of the podcast, we had to change because I was a dumb shit when we came up with the name. I didn't check to see if there were other podcasts that were also called Business Badassery, which was the original name. And sure enough, on Spotify, there is a podcast with 2 women in Australia. I'm sure they're wonderful, called Business Badassery. I went, oh, shit. So we had to come up with a new name. And this way, it's nice and congruent to our other brands, Unchained Business, the Unchained Business Podcast. Matter of fact, Billie, I think that was your idea out of our brainstorm list. I think you came up with that. I think that's right. It
sure was, Caleb, because I think that best exemplifies what we're doing. Is we're unchaining you from the desk and from those preconceived ideas of what your work life has to be. And It totally works with the Unchained Man, which if you people watching haven't read that book, it's one of Caleb's. And I've read it and really gained a lot from it. But what I keep hearing from the guys in your audience is, oh my God, I read that book every year. And I think I've had 45 guys tell me that. So it makes sense that the Unchained Business Podcast is the new name for us.
It's a perfect name. I saw that. We always brainstorm these names out as a group, but I saw that name. Sometimes you just see someone come with a name and you go, you know what, that's it. We got to brainstorm other ideas, but that's it. That's how I felt about it. Today, we're going to talk about, we have a few coaching programs, but we have 2 big ones. We have the 500K Business Accelerator where people actually coach with us one-on-one, Billie included, for an entire year. It's our biggest program. We also have the 90-Day Business Builder. That's only a 90-day program. And Billie has been working intensely in those programs. I have been working moderately in those programs. And so we've had many people go through these programs now. And so I thought it would be a good idea to go over the common questions that people in these programs ask us as coaches, or the common problems that we see of people running into in these programs, and our answers to those questions. Because that way, if we know, and Billie, tell me if you agree or disagree, if we see people in our coaching programs who ask the same set of questions over and over again, or run into the same problems, we know that you, listening to this podcast, are probably encountering something like that or close to it. So this should be a really helpful podcast because this is like real world stuff. We talk about nothing but real world stuff, but this is real world stuff because this is the stuff we're actually talking to in our coaching programs with the guys we're coaching with.
Right. This is where we are immersed essentially as coaches and consultants.
Yeah. So, Billie, why don't you start? I know a few things off the top of my head, but you're a little more engaged in these programs with the clients than I am. What comes to mind as common problems you see or recurring questions you see from people in the 500K program or Business Builder, either one?
It's great because many of the questions overlap and directly correlate. But I think the number one question that I get is how to organize everything. How do you do this? How do you maintain staff? How do you maintain vendor communications? How do you organize it all so you only have to work X number of hours per week?
Really quick, Billie, your audio is a little, I can hear you, but the volume is a little lower all of a sudden.
Okay, let's
try this. Is
that better?
Say something.
Something. Are you able to hear me?
That sounds a little better. That sounds a little better. If Billie's audio is low volume today, just turn up and I'll try to talk more quietly.
Yeah,
so go ahead, sorry.
I'm on the road today, guys. Apologies for that.
We're busy fuckers. We're both on the road. So there you go. Anyway, go ahead, Billie. Sorry.
So yeah, number one is how to organize, how to keep things organized. so that people can make progress without having to have all sorts of meetings or dig around and find things. And my answer to that is always, always, always get a project management tool. I don't care which one you use. I use many of them I use Monday, Rike, Asana, Trello, Basecamp, name it. I've probably used it.
Yeah.
The one that I most often recommend as an entry level, but yet solid tool is Basecamp. And they don't have an affiliate sales program, by the way, guys. Caleb and I don't get paid for saying, hey, this is a tool we like.
Right.
It's just a tool that it's really easy to learn and employ, and you can't screw anything up on it, nor can your staff. But it gives you visibility into everything that's happening in your business with a click of a couple of buttons. And I know, Caleb, that's one of the first things I made you do was pick a project management tool. I gave you a couple.
Yep.
And the one you landed on was Basecamp. Why is that?
Well, the reason I brought you on originally was to get me organized. So it's interesting. That's the first question that came to your mind, because that was my first need when I first talked to you back in 5 years ago. I'm like, okay, I need to be organized before I scale. And this is actually something I teach. Those of you who are familiar with my business content, I teach that first you get started and just get started and start making money. It'll be a little messy, but fine. Get started. Once you're making money and you want to scale, you want to build that income to something significant, you got to get organized first, because the last thing you want is to scale. And then while you're in chaos, I've seen companies do this. I know, Billy, you have too. That's a nightmare from hell. You don't want to, and we've actually mentioned this podcast a few times. So you've got to get super organized before you really start to scale. And that's why I brought on Billy. And so that's the answer to your question. That's why I did that. And it's interesting. I imagine you're getting that question from the 500K guys, right? Or are you getting it all over the place?
I get it constantly from every direction. And it comes from hyper successful guys like yourself, all the way down to, high school students who are saying, hey, how do I get started? And the first thing I tell them is get organized.
Are these guys in our programs, when they ask you that question, are they doing it in context of, I have various little subcontractors working for you on various little projects I need to collect, or is it just I by myself need organization?
Both.
What's the context of the question? Both? Is it?
They are both very, a lot of times people haven't worked with a staff before. If they're starting their own business, they've never managed freelancers or vendors before as a solopreneur. So the first thing I do is say, bring everyone into your project management tool. And that is the ethos of the business. That is where all communication takes place, is within your project management tool. So you're going to get rid of, what is it? Skype? No, that's not Skype. What the hell is it called? Thank you, Slack. You're going to get rid of Slack. You're going to get rid of email. And of course, you're not getting rid of email, but internally in your company, you are not using email. Email is only used for your external clients.
Right.
So we just change the ethos and say, hey, solopreneur, it's not that scary, because when you assign individual tasks to a person in your project management tool, you have visibility into what's happening by clicking a couple of buttons and finding out whether people are caught up on their work, whether they have late assignments. You can identify barriers and roadblocks early on if you see that movement isn't taking place, on the tasks that you assign to people. You don't need to call them. You don't need to have an appointment. Check the project management tool. And if activity isn't logged in the project management tool, it didn't happen. And that's the ethos we set up for you and probably about 80 other companies in the last 5 years.
I'm going to triple down on what you said about email. So this is something, you're listening to this podcast, this is something you got to get in your head, because this is something that just dawned on me years ago. Email is a terrible tool to use internally in your business. You do not want to just hire another person. And when I say hire someone, I'm talking about Alpha 2.0 business models where you don't have employees, okay, subcontractors. Even a one-off subcontractor you work for a few weeks and never see again. Doesn't matter how big or little this person is in the business. When you hire someone, Under normal conditions, you're just adding another pile of email that you're going to check every day and respond to. It's a fucking nightmare. What you do instead is what Billy said. You use a service like Basecamp. And if you hate Basecamp, use something else, fine. Basecamp's great. That's what we use. And you mandate to everyone who works with you, you will not email me anymore. And sometimes there's a culture shock. They go, no, you're going to be in Basecamp and you're going to ping me or message me in Basecamp. You are not allowed to send me an email ever again. What if I got to send you an attachment? Then you attach it in Basecamp. Works the same way. And that way, all of a sudden now you have one place to go to for all your communication. And instead of checking email, see, if we used email right now, I will tell you for a fact, to Billy's point, Billy's absolutely right about this. I would spend probably an hour and a half a day checking and responding and searching around for stuff in email, in Gmail. I don't care what email client you like. Gmail, Proton Mail, whatever fucking email, because I use all those for external stuff. It would take me an hour and a half. Right now, it takes me usually about 20 minutes to get through all my communications from my entire team, because it's all in Basecamp. It's super organized and it's structured in a way where it's all there and I'm in and I'm out. So you have to use a tool other than email to communicate internally with anyone you work with, internally in your business. Now, externally, that's different. You can't tell all your clients to use Basecamp. Now, although, let me quadruple down on that. Those of you who are going to be consultants, and Bill, you let me know what you think about this. If you're a consultant and you follow my consulting model where you have several large clients instead of lots of little clients, because that's a nightmare from hell. You've got 4, 5, 6 big clients, not 1 or 2. That's a job. You have 4, 5, 6 big clients. You can also mandate to them. You're going to have to work with me in Basecamp or whatever tool you're using to keep all your client communication. You just say, when I work with a client, they have to use Basecamp, and you just tell them. And Dan Kennedy's big on this. I tell my clients how they communicate with me. Same deal. So you can even go crazier than that. But that's so important to train people when they come in. And sometimes there's going to be a culture shock, and you have to kind of just tell them twice, 2, 3 times, hey, I said, you sent me an email with it. Don't send me an email in Basecamp or I'm not going to see it. And you're going to be screwed. Hardcore. Yes, I'm so sold on this. Yeah, you're right.
And to go back to your point, when I work with clients, most of my clients are going to have some sort of a project management in place because they're larger companies.
True.
They're grossing at least 2 or 3 million a year, maybe 30.
Yeah.
They have something in place already. My job is to go in and make it work right, make it work better, and train, their high-level staff how to use these tools to the best of their ability. And the way we use that is not only to check up on people's tasks and to make sure that they're, caught up on their work and producing, but we can also look at it as a forecasting tool. I can say, okay, Susie has a lot on her plate next week. I'm going to give this task to Bob instead, for example, because I know that Bob has a much later load.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely acceptable to do that. The other way that we use it is to map our long-term strategies, right? So in our project management tool, we have multiple sections for innovation, where we brainstorm our ideas, we dump them in together, and from that we make actionable plans. And this is something we've really pushed for recently, and Caleb has really jumped into with gusto, is sharing with your key staff members. And in this case, our key team is myself, Caleb, and Jeff, and Erica to an extent. But when it comes to innovation strategy, it's the 3 of us. So instead of carrying ideas around in our head and not communicating them to each other, we dump things into this Basecamp tool as a brainstorm. And then we can pick things up and say, okay, this is actionable in this way. Or, hey, I think we can plug this in the next 3-month period. So it's about forecasting your business growth and new product development, in addition to being able to map what the workloads are of your teams. So speech, we love project management. Sorry, Caleb.
Yeah, that's okay. Here's a question I know some guys will ask or be thinking as they listen to this. That's great for a guy who has a new business and he's working with people on Fiverr and Upwork and blah, blah, blah. But I'm brand new and I'm just by myself. I'm a 26-year-old guy and I just started my own little business. my own little ideas, my own little blog or whatever, and it's just me. So do I need Basecamp? What do you say to that? Yes,
I
you
say, hell
yes?
yes, you do.
Whoa.
And you're in the best position ever because you're coming at it fresh. So set yourself up for success and scalability from the start. This means putting your brainstorms into project management, creating task lists for yourself, goals for yourself, program things into your project management with due dates. Always have a due date so it doesn't fall off of your radar.
Right.
But essentially, this is how you map everything you want to do. And the benefit of doing this is you could say, oh, I learned a new tool. I'm going to write or record a video SOP, standard operating procedure, for how we use this new tool that I just learned about. What happens then is when you are ready to grow and you hire an assistant, you can hand it off and say, here, Tom, here's the SOP that I made for the tool that we use. This is how you do it. And you never have to sit down and train a person again on individual tasks.
Right.
Because you've created a repository from the beginning, which is the biggest advantage you can have in any business, is to plan on operationalizing for growth from the very minute you conceive of a business idea or any sort of project. You can use this for home renovation. You can use this to manage your home life. I've got lots of friends and family who do exactly that. So you can leverage it for more than just a project, a business. It becomes a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah, and Pink Firefly and I have a section in our Basecamp where it's just for us. So you can, in Basecamp, if you didn't know, you can set up projects that only certain people can see. So we have a project called Caleb and Pink Firefly, and her and I are both in there. We give each other stuff. So we use it in our personal lives too. And something to put to piggyback what Billie is saying, one of the features of Basecamp is that it has to-do lists and to-do items that you attach to due dates to. So you can use it like as a Trello. So you can actually put in your own to-do items, put your own deadlines, and it'll bug you if you get close to them or if they're past due. You can click a little, with one click, you can show all your to-do items sorted by date, sorted by project. It's the shit. It's awesome. And Billie basically was very strong about me using it, and I just went on faith, and she was right. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find that's often the case, Caleb. You know, not to brag or anything.
I know. Well, you've told me that you've worked with a lot of companies and they are people who needed Basecamp and they resisted it and they didn't use it.
Oh, good Lord. That is so true, and it's so painful. Usually when companies reach out to me, they're like, oh, you're the expert at this. We need help. Let's go. I did have one client who it was a partnership, and one of the partners was like, yes, we need this. We have a staff of like 8 or 10 people. Communication sucks. We need this. And the other partner lost his mind and said, we don't want this. We have a plan for our business, and we're not going to operationalize our business for 2 more years. We don't need you. You're fucking useless. And those are the people I fired as clients. You can't. I've had clients like that. You will never tell me that operations are not important to your business. They are your business. Everything else is what is able to happen because you have dialed in your operations. Growth comes because you have space, because you created it by dialing in your operations. So anytime, if I ever hear somebody say that to me again, I'm just going to like tear up the contract immediately.
Billie is very touchy about this topic. Matter of fact, her and I have had discussions about this, including on this podcast. Growth is not sustainable. Now, growth is barely even possible if your operations are fucked up, but it is absolutely not sustainable if your operations are screwed up. You can't. If your operations are fucked up, and I've seen companies like this, and Billie, I know you have too. And historically, in my 25-year business career, I've been guilty of this. If your operations are messy and you go scale, you'll drop right back down again. It's going to be so bad, you're going to lose customers, you're going to get burned out and pissed off, you're going to lose staff, your team. It's going to be a mess. And you will, in other words, all the time and effort you spent marketing and selling to scale would be wasted because you're going to lose all that money again. That's why I said you operationalize before you scale. You have to. And I realize with a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included sometimes, that's not the exciting part. The exciting part is getting the world and scaling and, clients and getting more money. And that's the fun part for a lot of entrepreneurs. It doesn't fucking matter. You have to operationalize first. That's step one. Billy's right. And then you scale. And now when you scale, you can keep the money, and the time and effort using to scale isn't wasted. It's necessary. Right.
There's another benefit, and you touched upon that, is that you lose staff. What is the biggest expense in any fucking business? It is
your biggest
labor.
Expense is labor. Correct. Your biggest expense is labor.
Whether it's yours, whether it's freelancers, whether it's Uncle Tony, I don't care who it is. That is a huge expense. Even if they're volunteers, they're friends that are helping you out. What is the cost to your relationship when you put stress on a friendship? Right? You're going to fracture relationships, whether it's somebody who loves you or somebody that you pay. It's not worth it. If you're operationalizing your business from the outset, you're creating standard operating procedures and training videos or training materials. Let's say videos are the easiest to produce.
Right.
You never have to train people again. So even if you do lose staff, you don't have to train a new person in. You can literally hand them a parcel of materials or a file on Basecamp or whatever your project manager is, with all of the SOPs that will teach them how to
say, go do it, go do this, and ask me
80%
questions.
of their job is going to be in those SOPs that you've created.
That's correct.
So even if you lose, even if Jeff and I both left tomorrow, Caleb's business is still self-sustaining because everything is documented and we have systems for everything.
Right.
So
and a really good book.
It doesn't matter if we leave. And that's what you need. You need that redundancy in your business.
A really good book for those of you listening to this, and I've recommended this book before, and if you have not read this book, you need to read it. I'm not kidding. It's a very easy read. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And it'll change the way you think about all this. And basically, his whole concept is what Billy just said. You design your business as if it was a franchise, as if it was a McDonald's. Not McDonald's exactly. You could have a legal firm. It doesn't matter how high and mighty your business is. You design it as if it's a franchise where you can pick it up and duplicate it and bring in strangers, and they can run and actually operate the business without you there, which means SOPs, operations manuals, all that stuff. And if you don't do that, then you're going to be the typical entrepreneur. We're way off topic, but that's okay. This is a good topic. We can circle back later if we want to. You're going to be the typical entrepreneur that I've worked with thousands of times, and so has Billy, who says about their horrible employees when they have, traditional employees or sometimes subcontractors, usually employees. Well, I can't fire this person, or I don't want to fire this person. Yeah, they're terrible and they're costing me all these problems of money. It'll take me 4 or 5 months to retrain a new person. I don't want to do that. That means your business owns you and you are not free. And Billy and I here teach freedom. And that is the opposite of freedom. That is when the business owns you. You have to put up all this bullshit because you didn't operationalize correctly. That's the last thing you want to do. You might as well, in my opinion, almost go get a job. You'll probably have less stress. You go get a dumb job than having a business where you have no SOPs, you have no or little operational organization, you don't have a project management system. My God, I would not want to work that hard. And when I was in my 20s, a young entrepreneur, I was in that boat. I would work 70 hours a week and I made money. I did okay. I did fine. I did low 6 figures, but I was working 70 hours a week and it ruined my life. I hated it because I didn't operationalize anything. I was just doing this all, whatever came up that day was what I had to deal with as the owner. And I had, I actually had employees, I had 4 employees plus some subcontractors. It was a fucking mess and I hated it. I hated every minute of it. So yeah, this is how important this is. Operations, you've heard this statement if you watch Joe Rogan, discipline equals freedom. So to Billy's point is operations equal freedom, literally, because you want the business to run itself instead of you being in there all the time.
Absolutely. And as busy as Caleb, you and I are both busy. We podcast, we do webinars, we teach courses, we do the one-on-one coaching.
Coaching, consulting.
And both of us own multiple businesses outside of the realm of this that we discussed.
Yep.
if we didn't have project management tools, we wouldn't be able to do half of the things that we enjoy doing.
No.
Much less having a personal life. So I'll beat this into people's heads if need be. Please operationalize. Please do it. You will enjoy a much better quality of life.
And you'll make more money. So Billie, if you didn't have any operational models, would you be making the money you make now?
Not even a little bit. And here, a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to do it. It's overwhelming. I have so much stuff.
I understand. And I understand that excuse. I understand it emotionally. I get it.
I absolutely understand it. And it's at that point, you just hire my implementation team, honestly, or another implementation team.
Yeah, you just outsource that.
Who comes in and does it for you, literally. You hand us all of your stuff. And I'll use my company as an example because this is why you brought us in. We're implementers. You literally hand us all of your stuff. We make as much sense of it as we can, come back to you with questions and a list of things that you need to produce. Mm-hmm. And we put it all together and organize it for you.
Or provide. Maybe you already have it, just to provide it. Yeah, when I brought on Billie, and Billie remembers, I had shit all over Google Docs. I had shit all over Word and Excel. I had various folders in my email. I think back then I was using Outlook. My God, I think I was. Yep. So I had folders in my email, in my Outlook PST file. I had shit all over the place, which is typical of business owners. And we had to spend, and it probably took us, I don't know, what did it take us, 6-7 months before we were 100% organized, because it was my fault, to get all that shit into one place, into one structure. Like, Billie, if you remember, I had this is the good news, I had an operations manual. So I already had SOPs for myself and other people.
Amazing. And let me just applaud. Hold on. This is worth it.
Okay.
Absolutely excited about that, because very few people who have a work structure like yours have any operations manuals or SOPs. So that was impressive. True. It was a very nice surprise.
Yes. So I was following Billie's advice. Why? Because I read Michael Gerber's book and other books about this. And I was a business consultant. I knew I had to kind of be the example. So it's not like I was in complete chaos. So I did have an SOP. I had two operations. I had a Caleb Jones consulting operations manual. In the back, then I had a Black Dragon operations manual. And I just handed this to Billie, and she's like, oh, A, you were happy, but B, you were like, okay, you don't want this. It was just a giant Google Doc. That's all it was. And it was hyperlinked by the sections. So it was pretty good. Not as good as Basecamp, but it was good. But my point is, to Billie's point, I had stuff all over the place. We had to consolidate. And that's what you got to do. And I was not as bad as most people, but even me, I had to take the time to get organized. So I realized if you already have a business or you've already started a business and you go, I have all this stuff and it'll take forever. And well, that's the way it goes. The same thing I've talked about with SOPs in my courses, where when you create an SOP, it's a list of instructions. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. And it's a pain in the ass to do it the first time. But here's the thing. You never do it ever again for that item. You do it once, you hand it off to someone, even if it's someone you just hire on Upwork for $15 an hour or less. You hand it off and you never need to mess with it again. You never need to train them again. And they update the SOP. So one of the duties of the team members we have in our companies is that they own the SOP, and when the SOP changes, they have to go in and change it and update it every once. So not you. You just do it one time and the pain is over. It's a one-time pain. And it's, a very high ROI activity like we just talked about.
And the world is getting even better, because in the old days, and by that I mean like last year, we were still taking screenshots and annotating them and making written documents, because that's what people really wanted and expected. And I come from a manufacturing marketing background. So of course we did everything physical. We had to have physical documents, but the world is a wonderful place with great technology. And now we use video. So the software we usually use is Loom, Loom, and it allows you to record yourself, do a screen capture, all of that stuff at the same time. So you literally sit down, click on the program you're using, it'll record your keystrokes, and you just talk and walk people through what you're doing as you would if you were sitting. Is Loom free?
Billie, is Loom free?
I don't remember. I have so many darn different accounts. I'll look.
I want to say it's free, or if you have a professional account, it's like $10. I mean, it's nothing. So it's not like it costs a lot of money.
Really cheap.
Yeah, and if you guys who already are more technical and do video or audio editing, you can use Camtasia because I already had that. So it's already on my laptop, so I use that. But if you don't even have that, Loom is awesome. It's so easy. It's great.
Yeah. Camtasia is fantastic too.
Yeah.
So the Loom starter thing is free. You can do 25 videos up to 5 minutes for free.
Yeah. See, that's plenty. And that's, so it's free. You're not going to need more than that, especially for starting.
And if you want more than that, it's literally $12.50 a month. So it's a cheap, useful tool. Camtasia is another great, really easy to use tool.
Right.
You could literally make an SOP in just a couple of minutes. And the coolest is that when you hand it off to someone else and they go through it and use it, they're doing your testing for you. So if there's something in the process that wasn't clearly explained, you will know that from the outset with the first user. They'll come to you with questions, you change the SOP, and bada boom, you're done.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
But let me just circle back to one thing because I get this question a ton. How do you get existing freelancers, family members is a big one, or friends working within my business to buy into using this new tool? Caleb, tell me about your experience doing that, because we did that with Pink Firefly and with Josh. And your daughter as well, who did what were those conversations like for you, and what resistance did you meet?
So I got resistance not just from my family members, but from various different people. And it was, no one gave me, in my case, no one gave me strong resistance, but I got it. And you know me, I just said, I don't care.
Talk about that a little bit more. Tell us, it's been like 5 years now, so it's not exactly.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
But this is it's such a common recurring theme whenever you change the ethos or the way a business works.
So this goes back to alpha male shit, confidence, owning your life, owning your business. Who owns your business? You own your business. Does your team own your business? No, they're important, but do they own it? Is it their responsibility in the end? No, it's yours. It's your company. So guess what? If you're in my company and you're doing the work, I don't care if we sleep together. I don't care if you're my child. I don't care if you're I have, Dr. Wingy, Dr. Andrew is in our business and I've known him for 35 years. I don't care if you're my best friend. I don't care if you are the key person in my business and I make millions of dollars because you're in none of this matters. We have to have a uniform system here. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. This is something that we, Billy and I, and many other people know for a fact will help our business and elevate our business, which is Billy and my favorite word. Therefore, you're going to have to suck it up and do it, because I'm not, here's what I said to them, a few of them, I'm not going to dick with email with you. And in my world, I'm not going to dick with texting and WhatsApp. I didn't even mention that. So a lot of people you will hire or work with in your family, or even vendors you'll hire, like to use WhatsApp or like to use Telegram or Discord or SMS texting. That's just as bad as email, if not worse, because the search features are worse on those. So you can't talk to email for these people and WhatsApp for these people and Telegram for these people, and you can't do that shit. It has to be in one place. And so you're just going to have to tell them, I'm sorry, I don't care. You're going to start using this or you're out. Or you're out includes if it's your wife, your child, your best friend, and you have to mean it. And I meant it. So you just got to be strong about this stuff. And fortunately for me, I did not get strong. I don't remember getting strong resistance from anyone, but I got it. Well, I'm not using this stupid. I don't care if you think it's stupid. Well, I'm used to, I don't care what you used to. This is my company. If you want to be involved in their company, you've got to be a team player. And look, I'm an introvert and I'm an individualist. So I totally understand and totally believe deep in my heart, doing things my own way and the way I want to do it. I get all that. But when you want to build a business that does something real, you need a team. You're not going to be able to do it yourself, especially you guys listening to this podcast who want to go beyond the $85,000 a year sovereign CEO minimum we talk about. You want to get to 6 figures or 7 figures. I'm sorry, you're not going to do that by yourself. I've talked about this many times. You could get to about, if you work really hard, you could get to 250,000-ish by yourself. You're going to be working really hard. Once you hit that, that's a hard ceiling. And you're going to be working 70, 80 hours a week and stressed out all the time. You have to do this stuff. That's how important it is. So that's how I took care of it.
And I love that answer because that's what you have to do. Your staff are either liabilities or assets.
Right.
If you're resistant and will not play nicely, and that means interpersonal conflict, not buying into the new ethos, not wanting to use your new tools, I don't care. This is what has to happen for the business. Your ego and your feelings cannot matter in this case. I can care about you and love you to the ends of the earth, but you don't get to dictate how my business works because it must work for me first. And from there, it can work for you.
Right.
But that's the priority here. I care about my staff. I want to keep them with me. I want to keep, great relationships that we've fostered over many years. But at the end of the day, things have to work for me. You
know what I've told people?
Let people go if you have to. And what you do, here's how you strategize that, by the way, is you have them help you write the SOPs and then you get rid of them. That easy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is.
That's awesome. That's hardcore. That's more hardcore than me. Yeah. Have you done that? I don't think I've done that. I don't think I've ever done that. Oh, cool.
Oh, for sure. You are writing the manual to replace yourself, sweetheart. And I tell people, and this is true, by the way, we cross-train for every function in any company. Right. So, for example, the person who handles Caleb's email, there's a primary, but there's a backup to that function. And it's the same for every function in the company. In
terms of human beings. So there's a human being that handles this. There's another human being that's also trained that can step in if this human being has a problem or leaves or gets sick. Right.
Exactly. So when I say that you have people write the SOP and you fire them, that's not, it's not as hardcore as it sounds. I'm not singling out one person and saying, ha, ha, ha.
Right.
Write this now. I'm evil. What I'm saying is I'm having every person in the company do this.
You know
train
what?
One other person. It's that easy, guys.
Yeah. I have told people, historically, I'm not talking about any one company or specific person. A few different people have passed 25 years. I've also told some of my customers and clients this. If you really don't like the way I'm doing it, guess what? You live in a free country. Go start your own business and run it any way you want. So if you don't want to use Basecamp or any other system I'm trying to get you to use, great. You go start your own business, put in all the work that I did, grow your business, and use whatever tool you want. And then when you're making as much or more than me without using that tool, you can flip me off and say, ha ha, you were wrong, Caleb. Go ahead. So you're more than welcome to go start your own business. And I even said this back when I was doing a lot of blogging, hardcore, and I still get this on my YouTube channel a little bit. Caleb, your blog, you shouldn't do it like that. You should do it like this. Do you own a blog? Why don't you go start your own blog and go get more subscribers to your blog than me? And then come back and tell me, Mr. Expert. I've told people this, and that usually shuts them up. If you don't want to use Basecamp, great. You go start your own fucking business. Go make your own money. Don't use Basecamp. Great. You don't have to work. There's no law that says you have to work with me. My rule for life, and this is definitely in my interpersonal life as well, I only work with people or interact with people who want to interact with me. If you don't want to interact with me, you shouldn't interact with me. You should get the fuck out. That works in terms of my personal life. That works in even my family. That works in terms of my business life. So it all goes back to this. It's not only a logistical thing, it's a philosophical thing. Why would I work with someone? We're really getting the weeds here now, but why would I work with someone who hates working with me or thinks that I'm making them do something stupid all the time? That doesn't make any sense. You're working the wrong company. Go work somewhere else. And that's better for you.
Exactly. But this is all really relevant to the conversation. You need to operationalize. You can only operationalize if your team rallies around together to do that. Whether it's a team of you and your partner or you and 30 other people that are freelancers and vendors, you need to pull together to understand and manage the ethos of the company and the direction it's heading. And if people are unwilling to do that, you can't drag them kicking and screaming.
No, they have
you
to go.
cut them free.
They have to go.
And that leads to the other question, Caleb, that I get most often in all of our programs and all of the coaching I do. Well, how do you find good people?
Well, that's a very big topic. Maybe we should do that next time.
I think so. That's why I thought we should circle back to it and have a conversation about that next time. Definitely. Yeah. How do you find good people? And I know we've talked about this before on this channel. In fact, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, we had Harrison and Muhammad as guests, and we talked about recruiting and being a freelancer. But I think that's something that Caleb and I need to address from the executive level, is how do we find those people, identify them, and elevate them?
I just wrote that down this time. So this time we will actually remember for the next podcast.
That's amazing. And the next podcast we should be you and I in the same place down in Paraguay together.
Oh, right. This will be live with both of us. Yeah. Not live, but actually, not remote. That's right. Probably the first time we've done a podcast like that. Yeah,
we don't get to spend much time together in person. So
that's right.
That'll be pretty awesome. We had Vegas a few weeks ago, and we'll have Paraguay. I'm going to see you more this year than in the
the last 5 years combined.
That's right. It's wild and crazy.
Because you'll probably be in Armenia too.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to Armenia. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I'm going to get my Armenian residency. That's my plan. I'm not sure about Paraguay, so I'm going down with you for the Get Residency trip next week. And we'll be there until the 25th of March, which is pretty exciting. So a couple of weeks in the nice hot sun versus we just got another foot of snow here in Wisconsin yesterday.
Of course. So, I was just in Portland and they got snowed in when I was there, everywhere in the United States.
Yep. It'll be great to be in the sun with you. And then we'll come home for a few weeks and I'll see you again where are we going after? Is it Armenia?
After that is maybe, I don't know if you're going to do Mexico or not. Maybe Mexico and then Dubai this year.
August.
Right. August is Mexico and Dubai is November. Right.
Yeah, that should be awesome. Yeah. And we're doing Paraguay again in July. That's right.
That's right. Paraguay again in July. Right. I just did a webinar about that the other day. Yep.
So it's Paraguay, Armenia, Paraguay,
Mexico,
Dubai.
Yeah.
We have a lot coming up this year, guys. And those are only the Get Residency events. So there are plenty of other events peppered in there too. We have the mastermind out in the Maldives, which should be beautiful. I can't wait to do video and pictures of that. We have London and Zurich. We're going to be all over the place.
So for those events, really quick, those events, guys, calebjones.com/events. They're all there on one page with all the links and all that stuff. It's all a nice, neat little, you'll see it. calebjones.com/events.
Exactly. And we'll be adding more. We've recently talked about adding some masterminds with myself and Jeff. And I was asked very specifically by a couple of clients recently to do something in LA. So reach out, post in the comments below. If there are any, if there are any cities where you'd like us to have an event, topics you'd like us to discuss, we are definitely putting together some more events. I'm also in the final stages of choosing a children's summer camp to rent for the Boss Summer Camp event. And I'm hoping, Caleb, that you'll be able to be one of the counselors.
That's so funny. It's awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. We're looking at places that have canoeing and kayaking and swimming, archery, axe throwing, ropes courses.
Oh my God.
Trying to get as much of that summer experience as we can. Absolutely. It's super Billy. I don't know. For those of you who don't know me yet, I grew up going to summer camps. My mom ran a Girl Scout day camp, so I was there all summer. And when I got old enough, they shipped me off for a couple of weeks to summer camp every year. And when I got to high school, I worked at a summer camp and my mom was a camp director. And then in college years, I had my own camp where I taught children how to ride horses. So I'm a camp person through and through. And I've looked at the various adult camps, but they're all kind of like party, woo, drinking, bingey.
Right.
And that's never been my vibe, even when I was young. So really not my vibe now. I'm more about tree hugging and in just enjoying those experiences in nature with people. So that's what we're going to put together for you guys. We're looking at September and October dates right now. We should have that finalized in the next couple of weeks. And we may add a spring event for next year as well, based on the interest. So again, let us know if it's something you're interested in, if there are places you want us to visit, if there are special weekends that you might enjoy joining us on. One idea that we've had recently, well, I bet Caleb, you'll know who came up with this one, is to meet in the Jupiter, Florida area, which is near like West Palm Beach. It's just north of West Palm Beach.
Mhm.
To rent a house for like 10 people for a weekend. We'll have a couple of coaches to discuss facing your fears specifically. And then we will go cage diving with sharks.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd do that.
Billy
Cage dive
came
with
up with
sharks,
that
that'd be
one.
the shit.
Exactly.
I did
You
the
can
shark thing in
also,
Bahamas, but not in a cage. That's awesome.
if you're brave enough, you can also free dive with them, and it's snorkel equipment, so you don't need to be scuba certified.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah,
So yes, so leave a
so-
comment wherever you're seeing this. If you're listening to this, leave a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube or wherever else, leave a comment. And then, because we always forget to say that these videos /podcasts. And if you're listening to this podcast, give us the star rating. And if it's a YouTube video, then like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're interested in working with us, 500k.io, where Billy and I and a menu of about, 12, 13 other coaches who are all specialists give you one-on-one coaching for an entire year. Literally for an entire year. Plus every course I've ever done, plus a bunch of other stuff. So 500k.io.
Plus, we have the gala every year, which is what we just came back from a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, where we took the guys out for dinner, belly dancing, ATV riding in the desert for a few hours,
Awesome.
getting to ride a bus all together like kids and just having a blast.
So great.
We try to pack in as much value as we can. And we have the benefit of really getting to know the members over the course of the year, because my team and myself are providing 26 one-hour coaching sessions over the course of the year that people can kind of mix and match their coaches to meet their needs. Which is fantastic, because we get to know these people and we bring the coaches along to the gala events. So at the last gala event, we had 5 coaches there, plus Caleb. So again, we're packing it full of as much value and sharing as much of ourselves as we can with you guys, because we really enjoy it. So yeah, I encourage you all to check it out. Like, follow, subscribe, star rate, share, and check out 500k.io.
And if you have questions about it, there's a phone call you make. But if you want more additional information, if you need to talk to Billy or something like that before you sign up because you have questions, that we're willing to work with you on that. That's fine. This is a year-long commitment, so we want to make sure that makes sense for you or not. So anyway, pitch over, but awesome. This was a good one. This is a good podcast. I knew it would be.
Fun. And next week is going to be even better in person, where we discuss how the hell we find good people.
Right.
See you then.
Cool. Thank you, guys.